is what I'm wondering. Does this not help that problem, or does it help that problem?
I mean, encrypting stuff, yeah, I mean, like...
Not just encrypting stuff, but I mean...
I'm saying protecting data is good regardless of where the data lives. So like there's GDPR ramifications, I guess, that like we will be in compliance by, not storing stuff like user data, private data, unencrypted, but like I said, I don't know the full extent of what they require is in terms of protecting privacy, but we should be doing a lot more than what is just legally required. I mean, end-to-end encryption should be, again, the norm. Things should be encrypted at rest. That's how the world should work.
All right, thank you. Anybody in the audience have a question? I have to go very far.
Hello, thank you for your speech. Just curious to know, what do you think would have happened if Edward Snowden had access to the technology that you built?
That's very interesting. So we mentioned PGP being a huge pain. So I mean, like, so what? Let's talk about the Snowden scenario, right? So what happened there? Edward Snowden anonymously emailed Glenn Greenwald and said, "Hey, I really have some documents that you need to see." And Glenn said, "Okay." And Snowden said, "But like it's really sensitive stuff. And so you need to like generate a PGP key pair, and you need to like send me the public key, and then I can encrypt stuff to you." And there's just like back and forth, and it's really hard to do. Snowden said fairly recently that he made all these instructional videos so that like Glenn could like figure out how to do it, and it was still too like painfully hard. So then Snowden went to like Laura Poitras and Michael Lee, I believe, and then said. And then like they're more technical, so they were able to like use PGP, and then they went back to Glenn Greenwald after that. We almost lost the Snowden story because PGP is so fucking hard to use. That is literally true. So that's that just shows how important usable security is, and that's great.
So yes, it would have helped.
Focus. So
right.
So if you could have if Snowden could have like had pursuance on his own server, and he creates this like new domain, nobody knows about it yet, emails Glenn Greenwald and says, "Hey, I have these documents that you should see." But with pursuance, he would have been able to say like create like a long like username and passphrase, and don't tell me the passphrase, and then basically create an account for Glenn on that server, and then Glenn signs in, and then Snowden could have already uploaded all of these documents.
Wait a minute, Steve. You're not saying that using pursuance, for instance, would be as safe as, say, uploading something through Secure Drop or using one of these complex systems. That's just what I'm hearing, and I'm sure that's not what you mean. So what do you mean?
So once we have native apps, then that will be the with everyone using native apps, that is a secure way of doing things. So there'd be more configuration involved, but like you have a native app, you point it at the server that you want to like log into, and stuff is end-to-end encrypted, and like I said, SSL and open source crypto, and that's really good. Like one of the key things that SecureDrop does that is awesome is when people read the documents, like on the journalist side, they're set up with like an air-gapped laptop, so that like if the documents being uploaded are actually malware, like SecureDrop helps a lot with that. They also have some server hardening stuff. I don't know all of what they.
So how do you handle malware?
But Ben's question was like you have, like you're comparing PGP, like the usability of PGP and security PGP with like more modern stuff. So yeah, we can do a lot better than PGP, and when everything is native apps, and people trust the software, then yeah, it's very secure.
Okay, so what's the next step? And Barrett, I want to ask you a question while we've got you. What do you think the next step is what's the takeaway when people come out of here in terms of using this thing, getting ready to use it? There's a little bit of organization in one's own mind before they think about these projects and how they would even set up one of these pursuances. And with the functionality that you guys have already, what do you think the next thing is people should do if they want to use this thing?
Well, one important aspect of that I want to make sure is clear to everyone is that what you see when you're using pursuance is this very visualized environment of physical pursuances. When you start creating a pursuance, you're seeing these structures as you build them, and it makes it easier to envision. You start out with pursuits, you create a couple of connections, a couple of roles for people to join. From there, it becomes easier to go step by step and say, now what do I need now? I've got a research guy and I've got a public relations guy. And everyone has a choice when they're pursuing. Do I want to design how this is going to grow myself? Do I want to go to the data library and see what else has been done? Or do I want to organically just create these roles, people that I trust, and allow them to create that next step? Decide, how is this research guy going to handle his research? Is he going to divide it into two different sort of networks doing different things and not communicating? Or is he going to, are they going to be all working together on topics at once? And there's a lot of sort of subdivisions on how that can work. That's especially so because there's so many settings that you can choose from aside from the structures that change how it exactly fits around in a very robust, large-scale pursuance. One feature I should note in relation to that, this kind of gives you an idea. We have a lot of features that we don't have time to discuss, but this gives you an idea of the kind of problems that we're looking at and that we've somewhat solved. When you have a large pursuance, let's say you have a core group and you've got hundreds of people out there that have been brought onto this pursuance over time. Just like with any organization, any institution, you have this difficulty that comes across when it becomes cumbersome. Somebody who's working in the mailroom at a company may have a great idea, and that's happened throughout history, but doesn't have a way to relay it to the CEO or vice president. The default setting on one of our pursuances, or on pursuances in general, is that anyone who's brought into a pursuance has one opportunity to send a message to anyone else on that pursuance, including the person who created it, one of the chief third people if it's structured that way. And if that person who receives it likes the message, you can renew that ability of that person to send another message. It could be an idea, it could be pointing out a problem, anything. So that helps to counteract the deficiencies that come with growth in large networks. And that's one of many different settings you can sort of tweak. As you create a pursuance, as you visualize it and expand it and run into problems or find new efficient ways and resubmit to the data library for others to use, that's one of many tools we're putting in people's hands so that we're not having to try to envision how these things work. People on the ground doing these activities, building their pursuance, they'll have about many opportunities to tweak that pursuance with a particular task they're doing. And that's something they have to take into account. It can make things more complicated, but importantly enough, this is a very easy system for someone to use. Remember that I designed it and I'm not technical at all, even though I'm sometimes called a hacker or a security expert by news outlets. I didn't know what a 0 day was until I was getting told. So it's something that the appeal should be anyone can use it, and that anyone can use it for anything, in any way that they find is most effective. And that's very important to us, putting this forward.
Sure.
All right, great.
And Lisa, just to add one more thing to what you mentioned. So I had a very interesting conversation with MC McGrath the other day, also known as Shadash, some of you may know him. He and I and Freddie had a meeting, and he works on Transparency Toolkit, and he was like, when it comes to like kind of full kind of pipeline of like what activists can be using, he's like, here's what we should do. And there's no formal partnership or anything, but he's like, here's an idea. We should have secure drop be used to, like in the most secure way, like you said, accept documents that are sent, like anonymously or over Tor or whatever, and then take those documents that were uploaded through secure drop and send them into Transparency Toolkit, which is what Shadash is working on, and have them like scanned, OCR'd, make all the documents searchable and like index them and whatnot. And then we should use pursuance to kind of break up the work in terms of like which journalists or which researchers are doing, like dealing with which parts of which documents to write various reports. So yeah, I mean, I think these things are complementary for sure. So you mentioned secure drop. I wanted to mention that idea. Several people have asked us about secure drop and being able to integrate. So yeah, we're interested in adding all kinds of stuff over time and integrating with existing projects.
Okay, great. We got one more question here from the audience, and then we're probably going to wrap it up here.
Hi. Congrats on the launch of the prototype.
Thank you.
So I'm really excited about the project management features that you talked about. Mm-hmm. I can see it being useful for lots of nonprofits that are doing like organizing on the ground events mm-hmm. that are people powered, or even for like open source GitHub projects.
Right.
I guess I jot down like 3 quick questions, which is one, are you planning on like dog fooding your own project where
Absolutely. Like, you know, I'm like coordinating with like dozens of people. And I'm like, man, if only I had some tool to like break up work between different people efficiently and assign tasks. That would be great. So absolutely. Yeah, like we tried to use a couple other things like just momentarily, and like there's a bunch of issues. You can assign stuff to like 5 people, and of course no one does it in that case. Like there's all these, I don't know. So
Yeah,
yes, we're dogfooding a lot. We'll be switching some more stuff from Mattermost to Leap Chat once we add a couple more features. And that's just the chat thing that we've been using some. And then, yes, we're going to manage pursuance with pursuance.
Yeah,
Pursuance itself is a pursuance. That's how meta we get around here.
Yeah, very meta. Yeah, the feature that stood out for me was the ability to match volunteer skill sets with a particular issue. That sounded really cool. My other question was, are you planning to, you mentioned integration just now, but there are, I guess, nonprofit CRM softwares out there, maybe like Salesforce or like Action Network, et cetera. Where these organizations, they already have, like they already track who signed up as event organizers, who's volunteered, and I was wondering if you were planning on potentially integrating with them, because sometimes it might be difficult for them to figure out like a pursuance user and how that user relates in their organizational history.
Right. Yeah, and it's an interesting question. So like the fact that we have so much stuff encrypted, it's like, you know, that makes it harder, but because we're like protecting data, so, you know, like for the private pursuances, it's harder to see what some of the integrations would look like, and of course we don't, you know, like if a user doesn't know that like the person who made the pursuance has an integration that they don't know about, that's like uploading them to some third party's database, like there's privacy issues there. us dealing with kind of money that other people's pursuances are, could get paid, but it's an interesting idea.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take a break.
All right, can I
and
go
come
through,
back.
like, 2 more slides? And then
2 more slides.
2 more slides.
No way.
The thank yous. The
2 more
we
slides.
just talked about karma points and people being intrinsically motivated. I need to thank all the amazing people who built Pursuit.
Okay, no, I won't give you the bum's rush by any means. I will let you finish, but then after that, we got 10 minutes, and I really want you guys to come back. I don't want you to miss the next talk, because it's Jason Leopold talking about FOIA, and he just got some fresh files in from the Secret Service on Aaron.
Awesome.
That he filed 2 years ago, and so I just want to make sure everybody comes back, okay? Promise you'll come back? Okay, then I will let you finish your talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I just want to call out some amazing people involved here. Obviously, Barrett kicked everything off and has been thinking about this for like 8 years. I'm proud to be, kind of organizing a lot of stuff, adding some software features, designing things, trying to synthesize these, like, the ideas of all these brilliant people that are coming to Barrett and attracted to Pursuance in order to build something powerful. Annalise Burkhart did tons of research and worked on the trust system that we talked about earlier. We wouldn't be a nonprofit without her. Barrett and I are not amazing at filling out government paperwork, I would say. So having assistance with that, plus her ideas is awesome. Raymond Johansson, I mentioned him earlier. He knows thousands of activists all over the world, and he's been making it really easy to have this pool of people that are eager to kind of start using Pursuance. And because these amazing people hauled ass the last few weeks, we were able to start alpha testing. Thank you, Marty, who, core contributor, added a bunch to Leap Chat. Like, you should have seen the ugly cartoonish wireframe things. And like, it'll look kind of like this, but not like gray and ugly and white. And he made it look awesome. Mohammed's here. Anytime you're auto-completing anything at all, like you. Yeah, you see that? Emojis, like the details that I demanded have it be, it's better than Slack. I swear those aspects are better than Slack, which is now valued at $5 billion. Valued at $5 billion for revolutionizing the way teams collaborate, and it's just a fucking chat room. It's the greatest chat room in the 40-year history of chat rooms. Still just a chat room, I gotta say. Sebastian Lindstrom, he's part of the team because Linda, who just asked not 1, not 2, but 3 questions, started Code Buddies. Anyway, I met him through there. He's in Sweden. He restructured all the code base so that we can have many more people collaborating or like adding code at the same time without stepping on each other's toes. That was awesome. AJ's here. He, like, when you get an encrypted email from us, that will go through his code. We were brainstorming a bunch, and then Jim McGaw worked on Leap Chat and something that was actually before that, and we just like copied and pasted some code from a previous thing that we did. Zen Peterson made the logo. Kevin Gallagher's doing a bunch of sysadmin stuff for us and technical design. The reason why we have 1,100 plus people on the mailing list and 1,400 Twitter followers, and Barrett has a couple thousand followers, is because of Barrett's writing and because Rain Coaster is awesome at social media, and she's helping us with our Kickstarter as well. Claire Peters did the policy research that I mentioned earlier, so we know the optimal country that your encrypted data should live in. Shadash, I mentioned earlier, he's masterminding about how all these different projects can be integrated in epic ways and is helping us with grant writing. And Soraya Kuda from EFF gave some very helpful UI advice on how to simplify things for users, which we care very much about. So, John Kiriakou, blew the whistle on torture. He's on our board of directors. And here's a quote from an essay from Aaron Swartz that I wanted to close with. That is where he foresaw things that are similar to what we're trying to do. And he said, imagine this, an investigative strike team taking on an issue, uncovering the truth, and pushing for reform. They'd use technology, of course, but also politics and law. So he wanted us to have these cross-disciplinary teams. Like for one project, you leverage all the advantages of many different kinds of people. And that's one thing that Pursuance enables us to do. Barrett, I give you the floor. Final comments.
Thank you very much for coming. As I've noted earlier, this is something we've been working on for a long time, and it's something we'll be working on for a long time after this. This is something that everyone who's looked at it closely agrees is going to work. We need it now more than ever. We can't afford to wait another 5, 10 years and watch our institutions collapse. We have to start building the scaffolding around the building of state now. Scaffolding can be used for repair, to do renovations, take out pieces, and you can put nets on it so that when the building collapses, the bricks won't fall on people. This is what the pursuance system is. Thanks again.
Thank you, Barrett. Awesome.
Thank you, Barrett.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
pursuanceproject.org/ASD. That URL's for you.
Yes, and also, I'm going to make you stay up there for a minute.
Sure.
What happened? I'm going to make you stay up there for a minute because this is where I make my pitch. So Steve is the guy that does privacy hackathons every Saturday. Have you missed a Saturday? Like,
Not since I flew to Texas, so I should tell you about that sometime.
okay. So he does these hackathons every Saturday at Noisebridge here in San Francisco, and we have the infrastructure with his stuff and with the people that I know to get speakers and stuff, and we're ready to help people all over the world have hackathons in their town and write stuff, and we got all these projects here that people are hacking on all weekend, and maybe they can just keep going. That's the idea, okay? So we're going to be back in 10 minutes with Jason Leopold.
Yep.
And
4 to 10 p.m. every Saturday at Noisebridge. I can, if you come to me or AJ or other people, I'm here when we give you a Bitly link that redirects you to like a page where you can create an account on our chat server, and there's different channels for different projects that we're working on. So, you know, like you said, there's half a dozen projects or so, and if you want your project to be integrated to like get more eyeballs on it, we're happy to do that. We actually had one Saturday hackathon that was dedicated to Secure Drop. That's an amazing project that we mentioned. And then Open Oversight is a police accountability project. So we had, which is also headed by Jen Helsby, who's awesome. So we did a Saturday hackathon kind of dedicated to that project as the official focus. But yeah,
right,
we're happy
Jen will be speaking. The idea is that a lot of people actually have a venue and they'll have food and everything, but they're afraid to throw a hackathon because they don't know if they have enough material. They don't know if they're going to be able to give people things to do. And so we are convinced that we have solved that problem. So so spread the word on that count. Okay, take your badly needed break. There's food. There's going to be more food. And then we'll be back at 10 after 5. What time is it? There goes Barrett.
Scene from Hackers.
And
This is trash. Yeah, I remember this scene. Yeah.
And we'll be back in 10 minutes, whatever time that is. Somebody tell me what time it is.
5:03.
5:03. We'll be back here at 5:15. See you then.
All right. All right, thanks, guys.